This is Tuesday, July 13th. There are 8 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2021. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music refuse 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
And also joining us, Aaron Tapkin.
Hi, everybody.
And our special guest, Truck Torrence, who also goes by the moniker of 100% Soft.
Hi, how are you?
All right. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to take your comments and questions during the show. So you can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment or question there. First up, let's talk to Truck. And Carrie, why don't you get us started?
Sure. So Truck, even if people don't know your name, they likely know your artwork, which includes Marvel emojis, Star Wars emojis, movie prints from Gallery 1988, Mondo, and of course, your iconic smiling dumpster fire, which has taken on a life of its own. Can you tell us a little bit about the genesis of that dumpster fire?
Sure. And thanks for having me. This is delightful. So I used to draw a cute dumpster fire when I was reading the news, and the news was giving me a lot of reasons to draw a cute little dumpster fire. And usually it's more often than not, if I draw something, I'll turn it into a GIF if it needs to be one. So I made that a cute little GIF. And anytime I would read the news, I would share that GIF, and then other people would share it, and that was like the genesis of it. And then, I make products, like I make stuff for people to buy, and if there's anything that people sort of gravitate to, then I will, I'll test the market a little bit and see how people will like it. And so I made it into a pan, and people really like that pan. And then I made it into a patch, and people really like that patch. And oh, look at that. And then for Comic-Con 2019, I think 2019, I decided to make it a resin toy, because I mean, you guys know the deal. Like, if you're boothing at Comic-Con, you want to give people an excuse to come to your booth. Right. And I already had a pretty good excuse that year, because I had 4 licensed Avengers. Marvel posters, for all the Avengers movies. And so my thinking was that I'm gonna have these like Avengers posters, and it's gonna be great, and that's what everybody's gonna want. And then maybe for like the people that have been like, for the fans of mine that have been following me for a while, maybe I'll like have just like a little something extra just in case, And so then I made a resin toy out of it, and I brought it to Comic-Con, and then that was all everybody was interested in. So yeah, I mean, the Avengers stuff did really well too, but I didn't have people like trying to fight me for Avengers posters, Well,
wasn't it? I mean, didn't you only do something like 10 a day that year?
Well, yeah. So I only brought 75, I think, and then so 75 of the normal one, I believe, either 75 or 50, and then 10 of like a really limited colorway. And again, I was like, I think 10 people will want that, and
I think that was a safe bet.
So
yeah.
at what point did you realize it was getting a little out of hand at your booth? Because things were a little crazy there. We were coming to get the prints, and things were a little wild.
Yeah. So I'm assuming most of you have been at Comic-Con on Wednesday night for preview night. And if you haven't, the deal is that while everybody is setting up, you know, you can like throughout the day, you slowly start feeling the energy level raise a little bit. And one thing that I started noticing was, you know, because I think it opens like 7 or 6 or something like that, 5. I don't know what time
It's 5.
5, right? So I would say around like noon, I started seeing some like other exhibitors kind of like stroll by my booth, and they would just be like, hey, so you got any of those dumpster toys or no? And I'm like, yeah, like we'll have them at 5. And they're like, okay. And so I like that like kept happening. And then around like 4:30 it was happening like a lot. And to the point where I was like, man, these exhibitors like need to get in check, dude, because like, you know, I have to well, at first I was like, okay, I think I'll be able to sell all of them, you know? So like, awesome, like fingers crossed, I think I'll be able to sell all of them. But then, so what happens when they open Comic-Con is over the louds, and if you haven't been to Comic-Con, like what happens is over the loudspeaker, an announcer goes, Comic-Con is now open. And then you can hear like a rumble like on the floor of people kind of like running. And my experience usually more often than not is watching that low rumble and then watching, you know, a lot of people run through the aisles. And then there's always the no running, you know, over the loudspeaker. But I always see everybody go to like, you know, the Funko booth or like whoever is having like the hot exclusive. And it was just me and my assistant Jackie, and we were standing in my booth, and they made that announcement, and then I heard that rumble, and then like the rumbling like started getting louder and louder and louder, and from both ends of the aisle it just like descended upon our booth, and within seconds I'm pretty sure there was over like 100 people in line. And so like I had like kind of a mild panic attack, and I didn't really know what to do because we didn't have that many. We only had 75 or whatever it was. And so so Jackie and I did a little bit of like, you know, like timeout, like gameplay action, and decided that we would just stagger, you know, 10 a day or whatever it was, which, you know, of course, like upset every single person in line. But the alternative was that they were just all going to be gone.
Yeah.
And so it was just chaos. So so yeah, it was sheer chaos. and so we dealt with that every single day from Wednesday night until Sunday morning, pretty much every day, you know, with people just kind of going into hysterics if they weren't able to get their precious dumpster.
Yeah, when we first posted about that back when you announced that it was going to be there, I just remember that it got a lot of reaction online.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we knew something was happening.
Yeah, totally.
So speaking of the dumpster fire and the fact that you had like a very limited variant there, you've created some other iterations of the dumpster fire since that.
Yeah.
And they're all popular. So what do you think? I mean, what is it about the dumpster fire that resonates?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it goes back to the general spirit of why I made it to begin with, which is that sometimes people like commiserating with something or someone that allows them to like share a little bit of misery with a smile on their face. And that's kind of what it is, you know. I've told this story before, but like I first noticed that like the popularity of the general like concept, I guess, is when I started selling lots of the pins, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 at a time. And I didn't really understand. Like at first I thought people were buying it for reselling. And I'm not in the habit of like emailing my customers just to chat, but like I emailed someone who ordered like 70 of them. And I was like, hey, thank you for your purchase, but like, are you trying to resell these? Because I have I have wholesale accounts if you're trying to, but like, is there a reason you're ordering over, you're ordering this quantity? And the guy told me that he works at a tech company and that all of them are on like a really bad project, and that they all wore the dumpster fire pin in solidarity of being on this like really shitty project together. And
awesome.
and then I started looking at the other large orders, and it was all like entertainment and tech companies, which is pretty funny. And people do the same thing with the toy. Like, people have bought lots of the toy and give them all to their coworkers or friends or whatever it is, So I think that's kind of, I like I said, shared misery is a little bit easier than solo misery,
Can we rewind just a little bit? And can you tell us a little bit about when you started doing conventions?
Sure. I started doing conventions, I think in 2009 or 2010 was probably the first year I did a convention, and that was Designer Con, which at the time was in Pasadena at the Pasadena Convention Center. And it was, if you've been to Designer Con, it's a great convention. If you haven't been, it started as the VTN, the Vinyl Toy Network, and it was a really small convention, and it was just in the ballroom of the Pasadena Convention Center with like a carpeted floor and stuff. And if you went there, you were gonna see every cool vinyl artist in the world, pretty much, because that was their big destination. Because it was easy to get into, and it was as a exhibitor, and it was cheap to get into for an attendee, and it was really cool. And so I was just kind of like getting my career as an artist started at the time, and another artist was nice enough to let me have a little bit of booth space at their booth. And I wasn't even like, I think I sold some pins maybe, but I had some like wood sculpt toys that I was displaying there, like some wood sculpt toys, and I think some resin toys that I was displaying there, just to see if like people would like it. Because participating in any convention is a gamble, and it's especially a gamble if you're not like independently wealthy, or like you're like doing this all by yourself. And so when I was talking to a lot of the other artists that were doing these conventions, I was like, well, what should I like? How should I do this? I'm like, well, like if you buy a booth, like what are you gonna sell? And so I had to think about all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I was fortunate enough that they let me they just gave me a little bit of booth space to just like see if people liked what I was doing. And that week afterwards, I remember looking, like scrolling down, because Instagram wasn't like quite what it was now, or used to be, I guess. But I would scroll on Flickr, and I would look for all the albums of people that had been at Designer Con and taken pictures for their Flickr albums. And I was like crossing my fingers that I would see people take photos of my toys, because to me that was like the green light to do some stupid shit, And so, and then I found it, and I found that like a handful of people had taken photos, and it was, and I was like, okay, all right, good. And so then I think the year after is the year I got my first booth there, that I shared with two other artists.
What about San Diego Comic-Con? When did you start exhibiting
the first
there?
year, but I don't remember. I want to say 2017, maybe either 2016 or 17.
Had you been before then?
Yeah. Because I grew up in Southern California, and I grew up as a comic nerd. So I think the first time I went, yeah. Well, I'm not like I don't like big uncontrolled crowds. So I'm in a weird industry, but like so I didn't go too much like in my 20s or whatever, but like as a teen and a kid, like I think the first time I went was maybe like 11 or 12 or something, and my friend's mom drove us down. And then this is a long time ago, and then it was like, it was not, this is like pre Hall H stuff, so it was like a very different experience.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a little out of control these days with the size.
I think it's like leveling out though. It's kind of
It
leveling
has
out,
leveled
right?
out. I mean, they only have so much room, so there's only so many bodies that can go in there.
Yeah, definitely.
So you were speaking about how you got started, and you started, like a lot of artists, as a web and graphic design, and then started doing your art on the side. And like you said, you tried to see what would sell and what people liked. What was that first time when you did have a booth like the next year? What was that like? How did that feel? Selling stuff that you've created.
I mean, it was really cool. I did a poster because at the time I was doing a lot of gallery shows, and I did an exclusive poster for DesignerCon. And I remember on Saturday morning when the show opened, I had people like line up to get the poster. I was like, all right, well, this is not too bad. And it was really cool. I mean, it was really low stakes for me, like, because I split the booth with two of my friends who are other artists. And so it was like a low commitment. I went into it thinking, well, like this, if this goes well, then it'll go really well. And if it just does okay, then like, who cares, like no love lost. But it was really cool. I mean, I feel like I walked all over that convention with like a new sense of purpose, just because I felt like I had a reason to be there. And it gave me an excuse to talk to other artists and get to know them. I met two of my like best artist friends like that year. Like, I think I'd met them before, but like I really met them like that year. And I'm still really good friends with them. I still have fans that came to my booth that first year that like still come every year. And so they've seen me grow as an artist. And that's really awesome. One of my really good friends I met there, she bought, like, I sold these. I used to, as like an artist exercise, I used to do weekly drawings of like, it was back when Throwback Thursdays on Instagram were like really big. And so I never had photos that I would want to post to Throwback Thursdays. So I'd make up scenarios and draw pictures of them. And it'd be like weird stuff like me riding a narwhal or whatever. And so then I made little black and white prints of all of them. And I had people like buy up all those prints that like still have them hanging in their bathroom or kitchen or whatever. And and like I said, I met some of my friends because they saw that stuff and they bought it, and then we got to be friends, through the years. So it was a really, really fun experience, and definitely eye-opening for an artist, because I don't know about anybody else, but like for me, it's really easy to sort of like operate in a vacuum. And whenever I participate in any convention, really, it's a good opportunity to just see what else is out there and what people like and what people gravitate to, because you just might never know otherwise.
So true.
You have gotten to work with a lot of amazing companies. You've done stuff for Mondo, Gallery 88, and Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Fox. What was it like transitioning from your own like creative stuff, your own, artist-owned stuff, to licensed properties? And what's that process like?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the dream, like for someone like, I grew up wanting to be a comic book artist, but not having the skill set to actually be a comic book artist. Because I definitely remember at a certain point being like, oh, like, you are not Todd McFarlane. Like, that will not happen for you. You know what I mean? And so I kind of stopped that sort of, career path. You know what I mean? Because I used to write Marvel letters when I was a kid. Like, it was a whole thing. But I sort of gave up on that aspiration. But like serendipity kind of like steps in sometimes, where like I found the style that worked for me. I found a foothold where I felt really comfortable, and luckily that sort of the ship of me, you know, in that style, and then other companies like wanting to do something that aligned with that, like those ships ended up crossing paths. And that, I mean, like I said, that's a real amazing feeling, and nothing I would have, like, I never would have expected that, you know what I mean? But when I started having these companies reach out to me to do collaborations or projects or whatever, I mean, you know, it was just wild, you know? So I felt really, really fortunate and really excited, because now I got the opportunity to draw these characters that I've grown up with in some cases. And, you know, like that was awesome. So it's been cool. Like, it's been super cool. Like, like I said, I never thought I'd be able to do some of that stuff on a, you know, I guess like professional basis, you know?
So when a company approaches you, let's say, you know, when Mondo approaches you to do a print for them, how does the process work as far as approvals and things like that, and you creating it?
Yeah, so usually I will start out with a sketch, and it's and I don't, like, by sketch I mean it's like a pretty rough mock-up of what conceptually what the poster or project will look like, because whoever is holding the license, they have to approve that direction. So if I'm going through a middleman like Mondo or whoever, like, first it kind of goes through them, and I'll work with their art directors to kind of mold an idea, and sometimes it requires more molding than normal, but sometimes it's just like a pretty good fully formed idea. And once we feel like the sketch is fairly representative of what the actual product will be, all things considered, then that gets sent off to the studio, and the studio has to approve that. And depending on the property, there, because some of them are a little bit more complex than others, and so depending on what they say, if they approve that sketch, then I, you know, then go back to literally the drawing board, and, you know, finish the final. And I'll usually send it to them at around 80%. Be like, this is what's going on. Any, you know, any last minute adjustments or any big picture adjustments, let me know. And then once it gets to around 90%, it's then sent off to essentially final approval. And then if it's approved, then I'll just kind of sew it up, and then that's that.
Have you ever ran into any hiccups with licensing your style of artists? It's so stylized,
yeah,
and the characters are very unique looking. Have you
Yes.
ever had somebody come back and say, this person does not like this round head that you've put on this character?
So it's funny, like, I've probably drawn at this point over 1,000 actors and you know, or personalities, or someone that has a physical likeness, and I've literally only ran into one actor that said they needed to change it, that I needed to change it, and it was like a straight up like, what is this? I don't like this. What is this? You know, so like, yeah, but it only happened one time, and it didn't even happen that long ago. It happened like 2 years ago or something, you know? So yeah, it was Woody Harrelson, by the way.
Oh, I was dying to find out, but I didn't.
Which is so weird. Like, you'd never think it'd be Woody Harrelson,
No.
you know? So yeah.
Did he eventually get it? Like, was he like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
everybody looks like this. This is part of the style.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because that's the other thing too, is that sometimes you need a little bit of context. And so whoever was pitching this to him eventually gave him the context. So yeah. But, you know, like, I could only presume to know what he was thinking when he saw it. But everybody else has been really great. So, you know.
Well, like we just said, you really do have such a unique style, and obviously that's based a lot in kawaii. What is it about that style that you love?
Oh, it's like it's like deceptively simple, because so like I said, I'm not a very good traditional, you know, taught like I don't have professional training in illustration. I mean, I grew up drawing and I come from a very artsy fartsy family, but you know, I don't, you know, I'm not good at life drawing. I'm not good at any of that kind of stuff. And but I love to draw. And so what happened for me when I was because I kind of gave up drawing for a little bit after I gave up the comic book artist dream, but I was transitioning into becoming like a graphic designer, and because I really, really enjoyed that outlet. And I also really like to draw. So it wasn't uncommon for me to doodle in notebooks or scratch paper. And usually, because I was so insecure about my talent or lack of talent, like the stuff that I would draw was really simple. It would start off with like a simple shape with a face in it. And because that's what worked, and that's what worked for me. And so, you know, a friend of mine, we used to kind of like trade drawings like that back and forth. And then I started feeling like a little bit more comfortable in that space. And then every once in a while, one of those drawings would slide across someone's eyes and they'd be like, "Oh, that's really cool. Will you like draw something for me?" And I'd always be like tickled that someone liked what I would consider kind of like a not refined doodle. But as I started kind of building that style, I was able to actually bring a lot of my graphic design training into it, because like by deceptively simple, I mean, like if you look at it, like at least like, you know, for me, like when I look at that style of art, you know, it's like simple line work and simple shapes and simple poses and simple stuff. But like, it's actually it takes a lot to make those shapes work. And have some synchronicity with all the other things going on in whatever piece it is that you're working on, or just synchronicity within the other body parts. And that to me, those were design problems, and I like solving design problems. And so I was able to sort of hone my style through just fixing those problems and then setting rules for myself. That was like, well, you know, because I used to draw very, very static shapes. And I was like, that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw very, very, very static poses and static shapes. And that's all I did for a long time. And then I got really, 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 really good at drawing those like static shapes that had no dynamic movement to them at all. And after doing that for a couple of years, I was like, well, what would happen if like he bent his arm? Like, what would that look like? You know, which sounds crazy, but like that's how I developed a method, you know. And so once I started asking those questions and setting those rules, I started breaking the rules and then setting new ones, and then breaking those rules and setting new ones. And so that's how my style was able to actually develop and not look the same as it does, you know, 10 years ago.
One of my favorite things about your style is kawaii is obviously all about like super cute, adorable things. And obviously your work is all of that, but a lot of it has a little bit of an edge to it, a darker side. I mean, the dumpster fire is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. What do you think makes those two concepts work well together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it just kind of comes down to making people laugh a little bit. I like it when people smile and they see my work, and I have kind of a weird sense of humor, and you know, I like gallows humor, and I also like making people laugh, and this is just kind of the best of both worlds, you know.
I also wanted to ask, going off that same topic, where does the name 100% Soft come from?
It's how I used to describe my art style to people, because people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I'm an artist. And they're like, well, what kind of art do you do? I'm like, well, I like draw. And they're like, well, what do you draw? I'm like, well, I draw like kind of cartoony stuff. They're like, oh, like Dragon Ball? And I'm like, no, like, you know, or like whatever it was. And then so the conversation, the line would start here, and they'd be like, well, like like, what does it look like? I'm like, well, it's like everything's really cute. And they're like, oh, well, like, is it like Disney cute? I'm like, well, not really. Like, and then I'd be like, everything is rounded, everything is like squishy, everything is soft, everything's like 100% soft. Like, you want to like squeeze everything, and they'd be like, oh, okay, and then they'd walk away. So basically, it was just, it's almost like a style guide became my company name, pretty much.
Great. So for those who maybe don't know, you create all of the official Star Wars and Marvel emojis over the last few years. As you mentioned, you've drawn hundreds, maybe 1,000 different people, and all of the emojis you see, Disney and everything, it's like, how did that come about that you just like become the emoji guy?
I mean, it's just one of those weird serendipitous things that just, it's like right place, right time, right style, right art, right movie, right marketing person, right whatever. So I used to do a lot of gallery shows at Gallery 1988, which is a gallery here in Los Angeles that specializes in pop culture art. And when I first started showing there, when Gallery 1988 would have a show, and they're usually themed, like whether on like a specific property or like a broad subject, like there'd be like a J.J. Abrams show, or like a Edgar Wright show, or a SNL show, or cult movies, or whatever it is. And those shows, like when I first started showing there, like they would have lines around the block. And a lot of people would go to these shows, and it's like you'd squeeze into this gallery space and you'd look at all this cool stuff, and there'd be like 100 pieces in there. And so that's where I first started doing a lot of the pop culture centric art. And at the time, Lucasfilm was developing the marketing strategy for The Force Awakens. And they were talking to the gallery owners at 1988 and kind of wondering, like, because they were thinking of doing custom emoji sets for The Force Awakens, and not just for the movie, but to like debut the characters, because they were going to debut some of the characters at Star Wars Celebration, which I believe is like maybe a year or 2 years before the movie came out. And that's what they did. And so they hired me to basically draw cute versions of their characters that looked like, because they're like, oh, well, like we want to do emojis, and this guy like does stuff that kind of looks like that. So why don't we just hire him to do that? And so they hired me to do, I think it was like BB-8 and Kylo Ren, and I don't remember maybe Chewbacca, and maybe one more.
I remember being on
right
when they announced that, it's like, use this for these emojis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I still have that video. And because I was at home watching it like in my underwear on like whatever it was, like a Friday or something. And but yeah, like I saw photos of BB-8 and Kylo Ren like before I had any idea like what they are or what they were or anything. And so they had me do that, and it was really fun. I mean, like you said, at Celebration, J.J. Abrams like presented them on the screen, and everybody was like, ooh, and nod. And I mean, that was a really exciting moment. And that was super cool. And then really, like, I just started getting other opportunities through that. And because, as you know, Lucasfilm is owned by Disney, and so Marvel is owned by Disney. And so I had a lot of eyes on me from people at Marvel. And I met a marketing guy at Marvel who would come to the gallery shows. He was always at 1988. And when I went to go meet with him, I went to his office, and he just had like a wall full of like 1980. His office looked like a 1988 exhibit, and he had like a couple of my posters in there. And so, I mean, it was really spectacular. And so, that's basically how I got those opportunities. It was just super cool. And it's by other people, I was given those opportunities by people that, like and have fun with all the same stuff that I do,
Do you have a favorite one that you've done?
A favorite emoji or project? Let's see. Well, I really liked the WandaVision ones. That was a lot of fun to do, just because I grew up reading the West Coast Avengers in the 80s, which was like a very Vision and Wanda centric comic. So I was like really, really, really excited for that show. So that was a lot of fun. What else? For Avengers End Game, they had me do pretty much the whole suite of characters. And I think I ended up doing 45 or 50 or something. And I did a ton that like we didn't even use, because they were like really secretive about who was going to be in the movie. And so and at some point there was like we were just like throwing in random characters thinking that maybe they might be in the movie. So yeah, so Endgame was a lot of fun. Let's see what else.
And you have a whole suite of ones that aren't related to properties too. Just you that you use yourself. I know you use a lot of them on your Discord server.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Which is another question I had, that you are really active on your Discord server, and you have a really friendly and welcoming channel server. I'm not sure the correct terminology. Server. I feel bad about that.
Layer.
Layer. Why do you think that it was important to provide an alternative for people to the traditional social media channels?
Well, because social media, the landscape of how people interact with social media is changing very, very drastically and very often. And I'm like, my cat he's like, will not leave me alone. Come on, dude. So the social media landscape is changing a lot. And you used to be able to post a photo on Instagram and just like watch the likes roll in, dude. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, that's just not how it is. And so there has to be a lot of pivoting. There always has to be a lot of pivoting and remaining malleable with how you reach an audience. And what happened for me is about just under a year ago, because I started the Discord server in September. And what happened for me is that I had some product drops happen that people were not too excited about. And because they missed out on being able to find out about them. Because, you know, the thing is that you can post something on Instagram today, and if someone sees it at all, they may not see it for like 3 days. You know what I mean? You just never know. And so my cat is just like mangling everything on my desk. So anyway, so I put a poll out on my Instagram stories, and I said, how do you guys want your news? Do you want a newsletter? Do you want Instagram? Do you want Instagram stories? Do you want a Discord server? And honestly, I was a little hesitant in doing a Discord server, partially because I thought it'd be like me and my cat and like a few other people. And how sad would that be, you know? But I put it out there because I know a couple of artists that have Discord servers, but they're like way more successful than I am. So I just didn't really think that there would be an audience for that type of thing. And so I started a Discord server, and the day I put out the invite, I think we immediately got like 200 members or something. Like right off the bat, and I've been able to foster a community and a relationship with the people that follow my work through that, which has been really great. And that doesn't mean it's replaced anything else. It's just one of those things where, like I said, in order to sort of, you know, keep in order to sort of keep like on the forefront of being able to actually successfully communicate things to the people that are following your work, I always sort of have to remain a little teachable and willing to try different things. You know what I mean? Same thing with like TikTok, same thing with like whatever the stuff that like someone, you know, including me, is really quick to thumb my nose at. I have to really remember that, you know, if the people are going there, then like there's something to it, you know, and even if it's not for me, like it's worth checking out to see if it's for me. And so luckily, like I've had a lot of fun and luck with Discord because it's been a really great server, and it's really fun to interact with the people that follow my work there. And so yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Well, it says a lot about you that you realize that there's a necessity to be adaptable and to be flexible. And I mean, 2020 taught us that, if it taught us anything, it taught us that's very, very important. But I think it says a lot about you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, like, if I'm going to go to the trouble to create the work, and if I'm going to go to the trouble to create the products, and if I'm going to go to the trouble to promote the products and do all this stuff and make these opportunities, like, I want to be able to foster a community that's going to enjoy that kind of stuff. And there's a zillion ways to do that. And there's not really a wrong or right way to do it, but it's kind of what works best for each, entity. And so this is what's ended up kind of working well for me.
And it also allows people like myself to get to know other people as well. I'm not just getting to know you, but I'm also getting to know other people and getting advice from them and getting information from them. And
yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, like, I would love to answer every question, and I would love to be as available as possible for everything, but I just can't, And so it's really nice that there's other people that have graciously paid enough attention to what I do to be able to share that information with other people. And that, I mean, and again, that's not something I ever really expected to happen, but it's really awesome,
Well, it's good fun. If anyone hasn't joined, they really should.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good time.
Well,
my cat just pulled a pita out of my dinner and is now eating it on my desk. It's like pretty disgusting.
You might be able to turn that into art, like a pita with a kitty cat sitting in the middle of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, on another note, Comic-Con would have been next week. Do you have anything that you were planning to do to mark the occasion?
Yeah, so I have a few things that I'll be doing, and you will be able to see those things next week.
Join the Discord and find out there.
Yeah, and well, you'll see one through me, and you'll see one through someone else, and you will see something you like with something else you like in a way that you didn't expect to like. So there you go.
Curious.
Yep.
We can't wait to see. Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up. So thank you so much, Truck. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we let you go?
I don't think so. I mean, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at 100soft. You can go to my store at 100soft.shop, or you can not, and that's fine too.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to join us. This was really
of course.
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Thank you.
Cool. Am I just gonna log off now?
Go ahead. Yeah, we got news to do now, and I don't think you want to sit through that.
No, you really don't.
Okay. All right.
See you on Discord.
That was awesome.
It was fun. All right, so now it's time for the news, and there has been a lot of it.
Surprisingly.
So, real quick, I just want to mention Comic-Con International released their exhibitor list. But for right now, until next Friday, their list does not have, it's not clickable. So if you want to check out anyone in particular without having to Google, you can also go to our site, and we have a list of everyone who would have been at Comic-Con. And you can click on all of their social links, their web stores, etc., and go support artists and small vendors. We also have a list of the artists that we know who are accepting commissions, and there are a lot of them. I also want to give a shout out to Scott Shaw, who is one of the co-founding members of Comic-Con. So that would be a pretty awesome commission if you're looking for somebody. But there's plenty of other artists on there, and you can go check them out. Erin, you want to mention Viz?
Yes, I wanted to mention Viz. Viz is doing a panel this year. Their panel is the 24th at 3 p.m. Pacific, but they are focusing their panel on horror creator, Junji Ito. And I wanted to mention too that Junji is going to be creating a one-of-a-kind illustration art piece that's going to be given away to one of the people. What do you have to become eligible to win? You need to go to the Viz site, register if you haven't already, and then you need to go to Junji Ito's page on the Viz site and favorite it. Everybody who favorites it is going to be eligible to win this original piece of art that's going to be created during the panel.
So we actually have offsite news.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, I know, I did not expect this, but Pomicon is back. Put your paws up. Because it is the Helen Woodward Animal Center does this every year, and it's basically one wonderful chance to dress your pet up and go take place in a pet cosplay contest, or just to go watch, because who doesn't love dressed up dogs? And two, to also go meet some shelter animals and maybe take one home, because rescue dogs are the best. So that is next Saturday at the Helen Woodward Animal Center. Go check it out. The cosplay contest starts at 9:30, it looks like. So.
And if you get to go, please post pictures, because I want to see dogs in costumes.
Absolutely. So let's talk exclusives.
Yes.
So we are going to start with my buddy Patrick, and he's had several since we last spoke. Where are you starting, James? All right. Yeah, so he's had a couple different ones. He's got a new 25-cent wonder called It's Our Time, and it's both a throwback to the Goonies poster, which is really fun, and it's also got not all, but a lot of Disney's iconic Asian and Pacific Islander characters, and it's really cute. It's adorable. It is, where's the price? $16. There we go. He also made Ramen Benders, which is a 4x10 cute little figure with a bunch of the Avatar characters eating ramen. He's also got some fun little tin can, a set of 5, which you can get for $9 each or $40 based around The Princess Bride. And then his big exclusive, if you are listening on Tuesday night, comes out tomorrow on Wednesday. If you are listening later, it's probably already come out. But it is worth getting excited over. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
You're so sly about it. It's worth getting excited about.
It is worth getting excited about.
It kind of is. I've seen a little bit of it.
Real quick, somebody in the chat asked, any mini originals from Patrick? I think he posted a teaser today or yesterday, actually. So yes, I believe he is doing mini originals again.
And I wanted to talk about Monkey Minion and their pretty amazing print, the I Wish I Was There print, which features a place that we all wish we could be right now. And this is going to be a 13x19 print. It's going to be $50 with free shipping, which is a bonus. You'll be able to get it, looks like at noon Pacific on Thursday, July 22nd.
And it's pretty limited. I think it's only 40.
Yeah, I think that, 40 copies of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that one's going to go pretty fast. So if you want that, get on it. We've also got Tamashii Nations, which has done their annual Dragon Ball exclusives. This will be available in 2 different time slots, the first of which is on next Thursday from 6 p.m. to basically 9 p.m. Pacific time. And then if you don't get it then, there will be a second chance on Friday at 10 a.m. of next week. And they've got I'm going to mispronounce all of these names, so I apologize. They've got like a Beerus, a Whist, a Nappa, and then a Super Saiyan Godson Goku, as well as a special stand that comes with different things at the bottom.
4 stands, 1 for each figure, right?
Yeah, they do. So all of that is pretty fun.
I think we're moving on to Blizzard. Blizzard, I don't even know if they're done announcing yet, but so far we got a handful of stuff, and they're doing quite a few concept art prints They're also doing this World of Warcraft Nendoroid Sylvanas Windrunner. I apologize for that pronunciation. That's going to be $61.99. Some of the concept art prints that they're going to be doing. They've got Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm. They have another one for StarCraft. A lot of great stuff.
Yes, and this is part 1 of part 2. Hopefully we'll get part 2 here shortly.
And these are available now, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they are.
You can pre-order them now.
And then Icon Heroes has been announcing stuff for the last week. We've got things like that Transformers Grimlock sword, letter opener, the Hot Rod and Ultra Magnus retro pin set, which you can see in the picture, My Little Pony pins, Ghostbusters pins, the Mega Man Sonar Blaze bobblehead, and then some other bobbleheads from Street Fighter like Chun-Li and Ken, Ryu, and that's it so far. But all of that stuff, all the information, of course, as always, is on our site. You can see the pricing and availability.
We've got 2 pieces from Mattel so far. We've got one Jurassic Park figure set. That's going to be $25. They have not listed a date and time, but our best guess would be next week on Thursday. This was the Jurassic Park final scene Ray Arnold set, which imagines a moment that was actually we never saw this moment, but if it was on film, this is maybe what it would have looked like.
This is pretty fun.
It is a lot. It's very, very imaginative.
And it lights up, but it makes noise. So who doesn't love that?
And last year, was it their Jurassic Park stuff that was really fun too? Maybe it's just something about Jurassic Park stuff that's really fun.
They've done a couple. No, I think that was 2 years ago. I think the last one was the Barbasol can.
Yes.
It?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They can get creative with Jurassic Park stuff. Mattel also has a WWE Ultimate Edition Sergeant Slaughter figure with a really fun, open kind of a book packaging. 30 points of articulation. He's going to be $35. And this one is listed at Thursday, July 22nd at 9 a.m.
Yep.
And then we have Entertainment Earth, which always releases some really cool stuff and a very wide variety of stuff.
Yes.
You can see the Loki pins with Miss Minutes and the Loki for President button, and of course, Alligator Loki.
I'm not gonna lie, that was the first thing I bought this year so far.
They have some turtle pins, and not shown, they have some My Little Pony blind box enamel pins, a WWE Sasha Banks pop pin, a John Lennon with psychedelic shades vinyl figure. Let's see what else we got here. That Lilo and Stitch with ukulele, diamond glitter pop vinyl figure, and then a Captain America pin set that looks like the Loungefly and a Loungefly backpack, right?
Yep.
With the pin set. So they've got all that kind of stuff, and I'm expecting that they're going to have more as well.
Yes, I'm very certain that they will. So let's move on to Monogram, which always does these fun little 3D foam keychains and bag clips. And so far, they have announced a Hello Kitty Tokyo Speed Deluxe gift set, which has Hello Kitty all in her racing gear. That set will be $40, and they also have a Cobra Kai set with Daniel, Johnny, and a trophy. And all of these will release on Monday, July 19th. I'm trying to get a time out of them, but they don't know yet. So we also have Super 7, which announced approximately gazillion exclusives. Some of the highlights are a Disney's Brave Little Taylor supersized vinyl. They've also got a Godzilla reaction figure. There's just all kinds of stuff. There's t-shirts, there are Power Rangers, there are Thundercats, there are Garbage Pail Kids. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm
partial to the Army of Darkness, Evil Dead stuff. That stuff's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. They've even got like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles carry case, like that comes with a figure. So they've got a ton of really awesome stuff. You can check all of that out on our site, and it all launches Thursday, July 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific. Everything specific. On our site. We've also got all kinds of other exclusives that we have been announcing. You can find all that information on our site, including yesterday's, who has the t-shirts we already announced, and those are available now, but we've been announcing some new pens. DKE.
Tom Whalen pin.
Yep, including a Tom Whalen pen. Including a Tom Whalen pen. With plenty more still to come. DKE, which is all of those custom toys. And honestly, like, I know they're kind of weird, but if you've never looked through them, I would say this year might be the strongest batch I've ever seen. There's some really fun stuff in there this year. Bluefin has some stuff. Nick Kreminik announced an awesome Ghostbusters inspired print today. Cryptozoic has...
That print is crazy. I mean, it's crazy good. Like it looks old and new at the same time. It looks like futuristic but nostalgic. Like it's so great. So well done.
He is so good at doing like physical locations. Like
yes.
It's just amazing. Yeah. So that one's really cool. There's going to be a regular version and a Comic-Con variant. So check all that out on our site. Cryptozoic has some really fun vinyl figures. Udon has a whole bunch of stuff, including pens, their annual metal cards that everybody loves, shirts, and more still to come. Symbiote Studios announced a plush, Committed Comics. We've got their details. And then Funko is doing their FunCon. FunCon. I'm not really sure.
FunCon.
FunCon.
Yes, they're doing that, which is basically what they would normally do for San Diego Comic-Con just 2 weeks later. But we're still covering it for that reason. They've got all kinds of stuff going on. They're doing fun days, which you had to... Yeah.
That was a ticketed event, right?
It's a ticketed event. If you wanted to buy the Fun Days box of fun, you had to have been a member, a fan club member since at least September 2020. If you want to buy the exclusives, which that will be a separate registration, you have to have been a fan club member since May of 2021. So...
And that's just to buy the exclusives from them.
From them, yes.
That doesn't include... Go ahead.
Yes. So the way that Funko works, and I'm sure, honestly, that everybody listening to this already knows because Funko is fairly popular. But Funko does shared exclusives with different retailers. So at a certain point, some of their exclusives will launch both through the different retailers like Box Lunch and Hot Topic and all of those, as well as on Funko's site. And then Funko also has a couple of exclusives that launch solely on their site. But in order to get access to buying their exclusives through their site, you have to enter a lottery, basically. And you can find all the details for that on both our site and Funko's on how to enter. The tickets for the physical version of FunCon, which is at the Hollywood store, have already sold out. That was also a lottery. It's just a lot of lotteries, really, is the moral of the story. It's just a lot of lotteries.
Which is how you know it's basically what they would normally do at Comic-Con, because Comic-Con is all lottery.
Pretty much. So, so that's also going on. If you care, all that information is available.
I think that's just about it for this week.
I think so. I mean, there's still so much stuff to come, guys. Like we were talking about this before the show, but I mean, this year has been way busier than last year for a virtual convention. We've still got more stuff to come from a bunch of companies that we mentioned tonight. We haven't seen anything yet from Mondo.
What about Hasbro? Is Hasbro going to do anything this year? I don't think they were, right?
I don't think they are.
I think they're going to do their own convention, the PulseCon.
Yeah, they've been announcing stuff this week, but it's all been for PulseCon, which is fine. That's been their own thing for a couple of years now. I do want to talk real quick because almost the entire YouTube chat is talking about November. Have we heard anything about November? And the answer is no. No one has.
All has been quiet on the November front.
Yeah, pretty much. I've said this before, but I want to reiterate, vendors have also not heard anything since the initial announcement, and that should concern you if you are excited about November's event. We'll see if Comic-Con says anything on Sunday of next week when Comic-Con at Home ends. I am sort of expecting them to, but we'll see if they do. And I also just want to give a quick mention to everyone in the chat saying we should have still had a physical Comic-Con this summer. That San Diego Convention Center first convention this year is not even until August. So they are not holding conventions in July. So I don't even think if that ever would have been a possibility.
Yeah, because they didn't know when the state was going to release the requirements and have the rules lax enough for them to actually hold a convention. So
well, and I mean, we don't know. They may still be going through cleaning processes after.
And just to be clear, it's not the state restrictions that may or may not cause the November convention to not go. It's because without enough lead time or enough people to staff or any another myriad of reasons that it cannot happen besides what are not the state restrictions at that time.
Yeah, if November does not happen, I don't think it has anything to do with state restrictions. I think it will basically come down to not enough vendors expressed interest in attending at that convention, or like James just said, staffing issues as far as like security and all that. So we'll just have to see what happens.
It takes a long time to plan those conventions. They don't get it up and running in a month. So.
And November may still happen. They may announce a whole bunch of great, wonderful news about November. I just don't.
We don't know what's happening behind the scenes until they reveal what's been happening behind the scenes.
Yep. So just again, I just want to keep everyone's expectations in check for November. Again, I don't think it's a great sign that vendors haven't heard anything, but we'll see what happens.
Didn't they? You said they released the exhibitor list. They also released the schedule. Was that last week?
The panel schedule. Yes, we didn't even mention that. I failed.
So the panel schedule is out, and it's going to be released on YouTube like last year over the course of the convention. And most, if not all, will be available for an extended period of time. It just depends on which ones the people who make them want to take down or whatever. But I think a lot of the panels will stay up for quite a while.
And there's some really fun stuff in there. Honestly, I think I looked through it too fast the morning it got announced. But I mean, like, there's a Dexter panel. There's a whole bunch of really fun stuff. So there's like a Lucifer panel. So make sure you look through it. Take your time.
And shout out to the Doctor Who fans. I hope you get that trailer you want.
Yes.
It's been nothing but people asking for that Doctor Who trailer.
Yes.
We better get it at Comic-Con. So I hope you get it. I really do.
Yes. All right. I think that about does it.
Yep. So we are going to be back a week from Saturday for our Comic-Con special online 2021 event. We'll have some special guests, and what else? Will we have prizes?
Yes. So we will be doing the Scavenger Hunt again. That I think we normally do it on Saturday morning before the podcast.
We post it in the morning before the podcast, and then it runs for most of the day or until Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
And then we give away stuff.
Yeah, we'll be giving away lots of fun stuff. In fact, hold on.
So now we take some time to say some things while Carrie's looking for whatever she's going to show us. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be some fun stuff from one of the people who's releasing exclusives during Comic-Con this year.
Okay. We've got all kinds of fun stuff. We've got a whole bunch of stuff from Hallmark, like this Golden Mario. You can hopefully see. We've got a Spider Ham Itty Bitty.
And these are their exclusives that they'll be releasing next week.
Yes.
And they're
these-
shared with, are they doing half and half, like half this and half for New York?
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're doing half New York Comic Con, half for San Diego. This is Hallmark's exclusives. There's the Ghostbusters car. There's the animated Boba Fett, which is not a guitar. Thank you, James.
It's not a guitar, but you can play it like a guitar.
I really thought it was a guitar. I do not have the Birds of Prey on me, but they are supposed to be sending that as well. And then we've also got some fun stuff from Priscilla Wilson. Like I've got a couple bags that are nice. I've got all kinds of fun stuff. So, and I'm sure we will have more beyond that. In fact, Erin, I think you put together a little price pack today from your comic store.
Yes, I did. Put together some goodies.
Yes. So we will have all kinds of fun stuff from Adventures of Price Mule. We also have lots of fun guests for the podcast lined out for you that I am hoping to share by this weekend, but probably in reality it will be early next week. Yeah, that's what's going on.
All right, so check it out. We'll have details coming soon about what that will be. And then, of course, you can tune in live at probably noon on Saturday, a week from Saturday, and we'll do our online event like we did last year.
11:45 a.m.
11:45.
11.
So we can chat a bit before the guests start coming.
Exactly. I remember it. This time I did not remember for WonderCon.
Thank you to all of those who support us on Patreon. If you are interested in supporting us to help keep the lights on and help pay for our server and all that kind of stuff, you can check it out on the website. We have a link on the main page of our site. I think that's about it. Thank you to 100% Soft Truck Torrence. You can find them online basically just anywhere just by searching 100% Soft. And in closing, Erin, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Bavarian Erin. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find more of my work at Carrie Dixon on Twitter. And super quick, Xavier asked, where do you get my shirt? And unfortunately, we made this specifically for our blog members. So sorry, this one's not for sale.
Oh, well.
James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can check me out anywhere online at Dan Regal, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for links, social media links and such for myself and Beth, our producer, my wife. And she does all the work putting together this show for the slides and editing it to get it into your ears after it's all done.
Thank you, Beth.
Yes, thank you so much, Beth. We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog. You can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening and watching. And everybody, go
shawarma.
End time.